What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Bluff guy. Hey! And we are back with another One Piece reaction. And today, Marshall D. Preach is going to tell us the horrifying, the shocking truth behind the Lunarian extinction. Ah, ah. That's pretty much the title of the video. It's the shocking the truth behind the Lunarian extinction is horrifying. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Also, let me know your thoughts on the video. Comment what you thought on the reaction, my reaction in the video. Do you agree with anything that was said, or do you disagree with anything that was said, whether it be the video or anything that I say? Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure you dang, I'm everywhere right now. Make sure you follow me on Twitch so you could catch these live streams live and you can interact with me in real time. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and make sure you become a part of the community. Join the Discord. It's the best place. If you want to send me content to react to, One Piece content to react to, the Discord is going to be the best place to send me videos. But yeah, so we got a Lunarian theory. Now this one, it's kind of caught my eye because the whole mystery behind the Lunarians is like one of the most intriguing mysteries, right? Because we know that there is only one Lunarian that exists that we know of. That we know of. There's only one Lunarian that exists, and that's King the Wildfire, the first commander, or the right hand to Kaido. But in one of the recent chapters that we've seen, we also witnessed the inventions of Vegapunk, Dr. Vegapunk, or the SSG, the Seraphim. Right? We witnessed firsthand two Seraphim, one that looked like Boa, and the other one that we kind of got a good look on that looked a bit like Mihawk, right? But one thing about these Seraphim is they also have the Lunarian wings with the fire on the back. So there's a connection with the Seraphim and the Lunarians. Now that's probably more of a genetic thing, right? A DNA thing that because if we recall, if we go back to we had a flashback with King and Kaido where Kaido pretty much freed King. He freed King from being a science experiment by the world government. So based on that flashback, we can assume that the world government got some DNA from King. Fast forward later in the series, or just in the story in general, fast forward to now, we see these Seraphim, and they have the Lunarian wings and the fire behind their wings. So seeing how King is the only Lunarian in the story, right, that we know of, it can be deduced that they were created with Lunarian DNA extracted from King back when he was a prisoner of the world government. So, but there can also, maybe the world government been sitting on Lunarian DNA for a while. Let's say if, like, we don't really know the true history of the Lunarians and how they became extinct, but maybe, the world government were killing them off, but also doing wild experiments like a long time ago before they went all extinct. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think the Seraphim were built or created from King's DNA, that as well, but maybe the world government also been sitting on samples of Lunarian DNA as well. That is a possibility that I do want to throw out there. Now we're going to let Marshall D. Preach kind of give us his take on the Lunarians and potentially maybe how it links to the Seraphim. Again, I don't know what this video is about just yet. I haven't watched it. I'm going in blind with this, like I do most of my or all my reaction videos. you know, and the reason why I say the reason why I was gonna say most of my reaction videos, because sometimes I do watch like the first few seconds of a video, so I do kind of know what they're going to talk about. But this one I haven't watched any of it at all. Right, I just seen it and I was like, let's watch it. So let's get into it.
Wiped away from history. What if I told you that God Valley held a secret? What are Lunarians and how was this powerful race of gods wiped away from history? What if I told you that God Valley held the secrets to King's godly race? What if I told you that Kaido named his right-hand man King to pay respects to his former captain, Rox D. Zabek, who held the ambition to become king of the world? And what if I
Lunarians, God Valley Lunarians. I think I've theorized that or speculated somewhat of maybe they went to God Valley, even though it also depends on how long ago did the Lunarians become extinct, right? Cause okay, so God Valley happened. I think Kaido was very young, right? He was very young, so we could at least deduce that this happened before Kaido freed King, right? And we know when Kaido freed King, King was very young. So when God Valley happened, that might have been before King's time, you know. So we could assume that there might have been some more Lunarians existing around that time, right? So yes, I guess God Valley could have been a place where Lunarians existed, maybe as slaves. Maybe these slaves in God Valley were Lunarians potentially, you know. And I think there's also a lot of speculation that maybe like the Red Line were where the Lunarians were, you know. So maybe they used to live in the Red Line and they went to God Valley. I don't know.
I told you there was an extinction caused by even the celestial dragons during the Void Century as they wiped the Lunarians away from history. In other words, the original Great Cleansing, the first extinguished light. My goal today is to convince you that the Lunarians once lived at God Valley, so stay tuned to the very end of the video after I explain my thoughts fully and provide you with the evidence. This is part 4 of 5, the God Valley Mega Theory. I will leave a playlist of the previous parts and other important videos.
Oh, I didn't know he was doing a mega theory. Hey, shout out to Preach. Y'all definitely gonna have to go check out this mega theory. I might have to go back and watch it as well. But it's did he say the God Valley mega theory? I think he said the God Valley mega theory.
Evidence. This is part 4 of 5, the God Valley Mega Theory. I will leave a playlist of the previous parts and other.
Okay, so he has a whole God Valley mega theory. So that's why. So yeah. So I can see why. Part of the theory is Lunarians having connection with God Valley, because this ain't even just a Lunarian theory. This is a part of grander God Valley theory, but it's related with Lunarians. Okay, I got it. I got you, Preach. I got you. Shout out to Preach.
Other important videos relating to this topic in the description. Also leave my Oni extinction theory as well, as I explain how and why Kaido's race was also wiped away from history during the Void Century. So let's get straight into the video, and let's start out with everything that we already know about the Lunarians in God Valley. Lunarians are an extinct god race that once lived on the Red Line even before the Celestial Dragons. This means during or even before the Void Century. Arbor or King from Kaido's crew.
Hold on. Yeah, they lived on the Red Line. I gotta go back. I'm sorry.
This means during or even before the Void Century. Lunarians are an extinct god race that once lived on the Red Line even before the Celestial.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was right. They did used to live on the Red Line. So could they have lived on the Red Line and then went to God Valley? Like maybe the Celestials kind of kind of like ran them off to take over the Red Line because that's they wanted to build Mary Joa there. So then they end up moving to God Valley potentially. Let's see.
Celestial dragons. This means during or even before the Void Century. Arbor or King from Kaido's crew seems to be one of, if not the only remainder from this race. We know the world government have an interest in him as it's implied that he was being tested on similar to Kaido when they were both captured. We also know that they are interested in him because they will pay for any information on King. One thing to know is that King and Kaido are both members of very rare races and they both have knowledge and interest in Joy Boy. Lunarians are known for being tough and withstanding crucial living conditions. They also have the power of firebending, exploding into flames, as this is how Marco first speculated of King's race. Other features include black wings, white hair, dark skin, and a tattoo that King has on his face. Luna is Spanish for moon, and Lunaria is Latin for moon, so there does seem to be a link between the Lunarians and the moon. Now all of this will be important.
Facts, and and I've said that a lot of times, right? Because when we look at the Lunarians, they look like another sky race. Like we know of the Skypians, we know of the Birkins, I think, and the Shadorians. I want to say I might be saying those names wrong, but there were like 3 Skypian races that we are aware of back in Skypea, and they used to live on the moon, but I guess they ran out of resources because a lot of this was explained in Anel's cover story for anybody who read it or haven't read it, right? But there was never any mention of the Lunarians though, right? So like maybe they were on a different part of the moon. I'm not too sure, right? I'm not too sure. Or maybe they were looked at as gods among the sky races. You know what I mean? Maybe they were looked at as gods among the sky races, but they have lunar in their name. So to me, there is definitely a connection with the Lunarians with the moon. It's just, what is it? And why weren't they ever mentioned on the moon with Enel? Like when we see Enel pretty much learning a lot about the history of the moon,
Later on in the video, so keep it at the back of your mind for now. God Valley was an island that is famous for the God Valley Incident, an event where the legendary Rock's pirate planned a massive heist, an attack on the world government as Rock's planned to rule the world by becoming the king. Roger and Garp ended up teaming up and protecting celestial dragons as they fought against Rock's Dizabek and his crew. This crew had members like Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, and many others. Since then, the island has mysteriously vanished and is now extremely classified to very specific individuals who were there and people that can remember this era. And it's suspicious because Sengoku states that this was an island that the world government already wanted hidden. I mentioned how Kaido may have named King to pay respects to his captain Rocks, who wanted to become king of the world. I've been saying this for quite some time now, and I actually ended up being right in a sense that Kaido did give him his name King, as we see Kaido gave him his name the day of freedom. Then Jack and
I think it was fair to speculate that King's name wasn't really King, right? Because when you look at all of the like Beast Pirates, most of them were named after like card games or something associated with cards, right? So what's the chances you find you find a guy named King and you also find a guy named Queen, right? Like those just seem like code names or nicknames, like names that just match the organization, like aliases, I guess. Because what's the chances you find a guy named King and then a guy named Queen? Jack maybe. Jack. Even if Kaido wasn't necessary, maybe if this was just Oda giving them card names and this wasn't necessarily intended from Kaido, but and we already knew that Doflamingo's he had an alias of Joker, right? Of Joker. That wasn't his name, but that was kind of his alias when it comes to dealing with like Kaido and stuff. So, but that, some people probably called him Joker, but his name was Doflamingo. So it would make sense that King is just an alias. Queen is just an alias. Jack is most likely just an alias. And so on. At least the main ones. Maybe page one. I'm not sure if page one is a card game. Well, maybe not. But like you got like Hold'em. I don't know if Hold'em is his real name, but yeah.
Queen follows suit, so for now I'm just waiting to see if the Rock's part is true. If Lunarians are indeed tied to God Valley, this would also make this even more important. Now let's get straight into the theory. Is it a coincidence that the only characters to have shown any knowledge of King's race are Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom? That's right, all of these three members were once part of the Rock's crew. And this is a good place to start, as I believe the Rock's crew learned about the Lunarians at God Valley. It's possible that there was a poneglyph that explains the truth of what happened at the island. And God Valley sounds fitting to be the perfect place that the God race of Lunarians.
I wonder if that mean would Garp also know? I would say Roger, but Roger's passed. Would Garp know? Garp was there as well. I mean, I don't know if he found the secret that the Rocks pirates found to know all this, but maybe Garp could have came across the information as well.
Lunarians once occupied. Whitebeard is shown to only bring up these gods when he's drunk. And then there's Big Mom, who's collecting these different races like if they're Pokemon. And she immediately recognizes that King is a Lunarian, as she says he is one of the missing races of her collection. She even asks King to join her crew. And then there's Kaido, who recognizes King as a Lunarian immediately when he first met him. How would he know what a Lunarian looks like, or why does he even know about the Lunarian's importance in the first place? Well, my guess is that these three characters all learn about the Lunarian.
I wonder if the Gorosei knows, right? Because they probably know a lot about the Lunarians, and I feel as though if you met King or if you've seen King and you know what Lunarians look like, and you've seen King and his wings, his black wings, you would probably be able to kind of deduce him to being a Lunarian, right? You'd be like, the only sky races I've ever seen with black wings are Lunarians, and that guy has black wings. And if you look at Lunarian wings, their wings are way bigger than all the other sky races. So, could it be? Could they know? I see Gorosei. I look at the Gorosei and I see them as guys who know a lot about the history of the world, like a lot of history that the world government suppressed. I feel as though the Gorosei knows a lot, so they probably know a lot about the Lunarians as well. And in that case, they might not have ever seen King per se, but if they've seen him, they probably can deduce that he is indeed a Lunarian.
Either from Rocks directly or from the legendary God Valley incident. King and Kaido's meetings feels faded in a sense to remainders of these ancient races that have been wiped out completely. Go check out my Oni Extinction video later to understand the full context of the Oni race being genocided and being wiped away as well. So I'll ask you once again, is it a coincidence that Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido are the only characters shown in the story to share the knowledge of the Lunarian race? Well, Rayleigh would say no. Remember, there are no such thing as coincidences in this world. To back this idea up further, God Valley and the Rocks were first brought up in the same arc that we learn about the Lunarians. And you might be saying, well, what about Marco and Queen? Don't they also technically know? Yes, but that is because they are commanders to these Yonko. Now, to further my point about the Rocks being tied to the history of the Lunarians, I've always wondered if Rocks was actually a Lunarian. It would make sense that the strongest pirate in the seas has the natural durability and genes of a god, and this may be unlikely.
Ooh, Rocks being Lunarian. That's pretty interesting. I don't know. We haven't seen enough of Rocks to say, but let's say they were exterminating his people, and that's what pushed him to to pretty much take over the world. He's like, look, y'all want to kill off my people, then let's go to war. So it could be the case, I guess. It could be the case. Again, we don't know enough about Rocks. Rocks do seem like he was he was darker, right? He seemed like he was probably a man of color, right? So kind of like King. Uh, so I mean, it could be. Again, we don't really know a lot about Rocks, though. We don't know a lot about Rocks.
Since it didn't seem like he had wings, but you never know, maybe he ripped them off. Anyways, even if he wasn't a Lunarian, I believe that one reason that he decided to plan the heist was because he was seeking the information about the Lunarians at God Valley so that he could expose the truth about the Void Century and the Celestial Dragons. In Japanese, God Valley is pronounced Godobare, which means the land of the gods were exposed. And so this is why I believe that even if Rox was not a Lunarian, one reason why he decided to plan the heist was because he was seeking the information about what happened to the Lunarians at God Valley so that he could expose the truth about the Void Century and the Celestial Dragons' rise to power. His goal was to take them down so that he could sit atop the throne for himself. In order to become the king, you would have to know about the king and then take down the king. But the proof that Rox always knew about Lunarians comes from his Jolly Roger, the symbol of his piracy. As you can see, Rox Jolly Roger represents three different possibilities. First, the Oni race, symbolized through the devil horns, which goes with my previous Oni race extinction video and would make sense as to why he was interested in recruiting Kaido if this is the case. The other possibility is that this is actually a flame design instead of devil horns, as we see that there is a red skull in the anime with the swirl.
I mean, those do kind of look like wings. If you go to like right here where I'm circling, look like wings on each side where the I forget what you call that thing, the figurehead or something like that. Like, I can't remember what you call it, but like it has these wings, part of it.
Flame representing the Lunarians, and the last possibility I see is the design is intentionally meant to be both, mixing the Lunarian flames into the Oni horns. So making this a symbol, what do you think about it? Is this evidence that Lunarians are tied to the rocks narratively? Kaido's held a grudge against Celestial Dragon, so if both of these races became extinct during the Void Century because of genocides committed by Celestial Dragons, this would all be fitting with King as the right-hand man, helping Kaido fulfill his ambitions to wage war against these false gods. What if I told you that the Great War during the Void Century began with Lunarian genocide? It would make sense that Celestial Dragons would target the Lunarians first. These were threats as they would claim the throne after defeating the gods, replacing them upon the red line. Lunarians are a race of moon gods with Luna meaning moon, and Celestial Dragons are similar with Celestial meaning heavenly or referring to space, and dragons being godlike figures, especially in Japanese culture and mythology. And then there's Im, who is the king of the gods. Get it? King and gods? It's likely that God Valley has ties to the Void Century and the One Piece as a world government wanted to keep it hidden even before, and so to understand why Lunarians are the first extinguished light or the first genocide that began the War of the Void Century, we have to look at the O'Harans. O'Hara was another extinguished light as they were wiped away with only Robin surviving. In fact, there are many parallels between Robin and King that Oda is
I think Eam, right? Like, if you ever read Anel's cover story, there are these space pirates, right? They're like aliens or whatever, but I think they kind of look like, one of them look like a dog or whatever, but they kind of got like these long, real lanky bodies and stuff. So it just made me think that Eam could also be connected with the moon as well, or at least space. Like maybe he's a alien or something. So, and we also know Lunarians have something to do with the moon. So, because I was thinking like maybe Eam is a Lunarian as well, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to go with that theory. He got those Mihawk eyes, and I don't think we seen King with those Mihawk eyes. So maybe he come from like a different race, a race with eyes like that, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Eam just kind of remind me like he could be like one of those space individuals. you know, and maybe that's why celestial dragons have the name celestials, because when you look at celestials, those are like like bodies of, kind of like planets, right? Celestials or planets or celestial bodies, right? So, yeah, you know,
painting for us, and that is the first of many. Let me ask you, how do you extinguish a fire? That's right, with a fire extinguisher. I believe the celestial dragons continue to use this very specific term, extinguish the light, because they are literally extinguishing the light by massacring the Lunarians, who are known for their flames. Fire represents light, and so does the moon in the night. So after this event, the celestial dragons always refer to these great cleansings, these big genocides, as extinguished lights. Going back to Nico Robin, she is a survivor of another cleansing, the O'Hara incident, where they erased O'Hara and the artifacts that held the secrets, all of their people and their culture being washed away forever. And she is also known as the Light of the Revolution, another possible reference at O'Hara being an extinguished light, as she carries on their wills, reading the poneglyphs and one day learning the true history. King's black wings are meant to resemble a fallen angel, going along with the god theme, and then Nico Robin is the devil child, and is now shown with her.
Yeah, that kind of always been my one of my theories that I kind of would talk about, right? How I always looked at Lunarians as potential like fallen angels, seeing how they used to live on Mary Joa, right? The land of the gods or whatever. That's where celestial dragons live. You know, the people, they consider them gods. So when they lost, they became fallen angels. You know what I'm saying? Like when the Lunarians lost, it's symbolic that they're like fallen angels. That's why they have black wings. Maybe they were sent to like. I mean, there's a discussion I did with Elids a long time ago. Matter of fact, Elids has a theory of a place called hell, which is, it's not like real hell, but it's like under the earth's crust, you know what I'm saying, where it's like maybe under a volcano, where there's beings, because we seen demonic looking beings like Magellan. We seen Hannibal. I think there's like one of Big Mom's daughters kind of look a little demonic-ish. There's like races of individuals that look demonic, right? So maybe they come from this hellish place or under the earth, right? And maybe Lunarians were sent there, and maybe that's how their wings got darkened. It's a theory I did, like it's a Elid's theory that y'all have to go check out. I think I reacted to it along, like, I don't know, like last year sometime. So y'all will have to go back in my archive and go see that. Maybe I'll link it in the description box here. But yeah, maybe the Lunarians were sent from Mary Joa to this quote unquote hell, and that's how their wings became black. And it kind of signifies being a fallen angel.
Devil form. As you can see, there are many interesting parallels between King the last Lunarian and Robin the last O'Haran. And while the O'Harans were learning the truth about the ancient kingdom, it's likely that the Lunarians are connected to Joy Boy in the ancient kingdom during the Void Century. So this is why I believe Lunarians were wiped out, as they once ruled upon the Red Line, and this started a world war with the celestial dragons declaring war against the ancient kingdom, ultimately sitting upon the throne. With Godobare meaning the land that exposes the gods, this is actually mind-blowing because it goes along with the narrative perfectly. You might be wondering, how did the Lunarians live at God Valley if they lived on the Red Line? Well, it's possible that God Valley used to be part of the Red Line, or maybe God Valley is simply where the remaining surviving Lunarians lived quietly and peacefully. Or maybe it's just a poneglyph that speaks of the past existence of the Lunarians so that their history would not be erased. And so now it's time to tie it back into the Oni race. In my ancient giant extinction theory, I explained how the Oni, Zunisha's race, dinosaurs, and dragons were wiped out during the war. I explained how the Oharians figured out that the enormous kingdom was ruled by an alliance between the Onis and Lunarians. The Onis were a great cleansing similar to the Lunarians, but why the Lunarians being the original extinction is important is because this event may have infuriated the Onis and Joy Boy to launch a war against the celestial dragons. It could be the initial motivating event and factor bringing everyone in the world at odds. It's possible that this war lasted decades, maybe even 100 years, because we know that these ancient giants can live for that long. And so even if it was half a century long, it could still fit somewhere within the void century that was erased. This is the beginning to the story of the celestial dragon conquest, and it would be a terrifying secret to hide, because if the world knew what it cost to become gods, if the world knew that they gained their power through mass genocide, it would spin an entirely different perspective on these corrupted people. So you let me know in the comments, have I convinced you that the Lunarians are from God Valley? Is there a poneglyph or some kind of evidence there that explains their downfall from god status to extinction? And to find out what really happened to God Valley, make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell like Luffy and Skypiea to be notified for the final part of the God Valley mega theory that will discuss more about King, Joy Boy, and Nell, and why Nell will return to the series and its connections to God Valley. I've also made other videos that you need to see to understand the full context of the Oni genocide and to
Man, shout out the Marshall D Preach. Make sure y'all give him a like. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I can't say I'm fully convinced that Lunarians were part of God Valley. You know, I'm not saying it's not a possibility. You know, it's just, again, we don't really know much about Lunarians and everything. And from what we know of God Valley, it was like a vacation spot for the celestial dragons or something along that line. I don't remember exactly what they say about God Valley, but we know celestial dragons were there with their slaves, and that was like a go-to spot for celestial dragons and their slaves. It could have been like a place where you could buy slaves. I don't know, right? But we know that celestial dragons were there. We know that their slaves were there. Could their slaves have been Lunarians? Possibly, right? Possibly. I don't know if it was just a place where Lunarians were just living, though, because, again, they would have been living among celestial dragons as well. And so, and seeing how they were treated, I don't think it would have been a cooperative type of living situation. I think it would have been celestial dragons subjugating Lunarians. But that is very possible, right? Or maybe there was some secrets there about Lunarians. Maybe that could have been a Lunarian home, right? At one point, you know, before the Celestials came in, maybe drive them out and set up shop there. You know, that could have been the case. You know, maybe it's like maybe the Lunarians were living in Marijoa, and then the Celestials came, ran them out of Marijoa, so the Lunarians moved to God Valley, and then the Celestials were like, oh, we're going to run y'all out of this too. Wherever y'all go, we running y'all out. We're not going to let y'all live. We're going to keep killing y'all and all that stuff. That could have been how it was, right? You know, Lunarians went to safety, found this new island. So the Celestials were like, well, we got to go find them, eradicate them, and let's go take over that island as well. You know, it could have been something like that. So it is very possible. You know, again, Lunarians are really wrapped in a lot of mystery. So it's really hard to say, but you know, there are a lot of secrets that I hope we do learn more of soon when it comes to Lunarians and their history. You know, I feel as though the whole king stuff, it only gave us just a tip of the iceberg, right? But I think there's a lot more to learn when it comes to Lunarians. Just what is it, right? What is it? But yeah, so that's pretty much the video, y'all. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below what you thought of this reaction video, what you thought about this video. What are your thoughts on Lunarians? Like, do you guys have any speculation on the history of Lunarians? Do you guys think there's some secrets on the moon that maybe Enel uh, might uncover about Lunarians, right? Like, what do you think their connection is to the moon? Because we didn't really get much about any history about the Lunarians when we seen the Anel cover story. So, but it's like they had. I feel as though they have to have some type of connection with the moon. But yeah, and also the link, or also make sure you guys follow me on Twitch so you could catch these live streams live and you could engage with me in real time. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And also make sure you join the Discord and come be a part of the community. All of these will be in the description box below, as well as the link to Marshall D. Preach's video, so you guys could go show him some love and go like his video as well. But anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P. the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.